Hello and welcome to episode 20 of FPL The Onion. My name is Nick. I'm on my own tonight because Mr. Shlee is on holiday, and we tried to stream together on Wednesday, but unfortunately the technology failed us. The internet where Shlee wasn't good enough, but also my internet is horrendous here. Although I have found out this week that I will actually be getting about 900 meg download in about a month's time. So hopefully before the game launches again, the internet should be upgraded and should be pretty amazing here. So that's very good news for me, and hopefully good news for you guys if you're watching this and planning on continuing to watch me and Shlee next season. So Shlee recorded on his own on Wednesday. It is now in the early hours of Sunday morning, ahead of the Gameweek38 deadline, which is at 2:30 today. I just wanted to come on and record a little bit because I'm planning on doing a little bit of tinkering. If you do like the content, please do like, comment, and subscribe. And we will be bringing some extra content over the off season, and certainly we'll be carrying on next season and continuing to improve things. And hopefully our technology will improve, and yes, the content will. We might start doing a few more regular things each week as well. So, it's quite strange doing this without Shlee and without somebody to actually talk through things with. It's quite a lonely experience streaming on your own. So, shout out to Andy at Let's Talk FPL because the way he does it makes it seem very, very natural. So, I'm just going to bring up my browser here. Just give me one sec. So hopefully this will work. It has been incredibly slow and laggy. So again, I don't know whether that's my technology over here, but hopefully it will work relatively quickly. So just a quick recap of how I did in Game Week 37. It was actually a really, really disappointing game week. I made quite a few mistakes here, and again, with the benefit of hindsight, it looks pretty disastrous, really, some of those decisions that I made. So for example, single game week player captain Son against Burnley, and it just didn't really work out. Obviously, I thought that was a good fixture. I thought Son could compete with some of the double game weekers, and unfortunately, it wasn't the case. And then, obviously, with hindsight, players like Richarlison, even Vardy, who I had in my team, double game weekers, and I just think that's a big lesson for me that no matter how good the single game weekers look and how well they've done in other game weeks. I think we've had something like 13 double game weeks this season, so it's just been insane. Hopefully next season we'll get back to a bit more normality on that, but I think you've got to captain the double game week player. The other big one was Ings over Richarlison, which just looks downright ridiculous now in hindsight, given that I think Ings has been a huge disappointment this season. You look at the numbers, I'm surprised even to see that he's got 7 goals, but his minutes haven't been kind of what we would expect. And obviously Everton fighting for their lives. They had that incredible result against Arsenal. Richarlison got an absolutely monster score this week. And then obviously the other picks, for example, like Zaha, everyone, there's a lot of people jumping on Zaha, but his actual underlying numbers were pretty pathetic. And obviously everyone was hoping, Zaha pickers were hoping he was going to get a penalty or something, but the likes of the Leicester boys there, Maddison and Barnes, kind of massively outperforming him. So it actually dropped my rank this week, even on free hit, which is pretty disappointing. And I've actually dropped to second in a couple of my mini leagues at obviously the most important point in the season. I'm now sitting just over the 5k rank. I haven't actually looked at how far off 1k I am, but it's pretty disappointing for that to be so far off now. And I guess I'm kind of trying to hold my position now in the top 10k, although I think I am planning some moves to try and kind of jump back up. And obviously if everything goes my way, I guess it's still technically possible for me to get into the top 1k, but I think it's extremely unlikely at this point. So the team for this week, I'll just wait for my computer to catch up. Looks pretty strong. So Schmeichel in goal, Southampton at home, obviously a really nice fixture for Leicester. I've got probably the strongest back five that you could go for in the game. Talk about big at the back. It's kind of the strongest defense you could have. I guess you could have a Laporte there instead of maybe an Alonso or something like that. But it's the power back five and the defense. I started the season actually in a 5-4-1 formation, and it's I haven't held it all season. I kind of broke my team in game week 4 to get Ronaldo in, but I think we've all talked about how strong the defenses have been this season and the wing backs and how important they are in their teams and how attacking they are, and obviously getting the clean sheets as well. So I think next season, unless they massively overhaul the pricing, I'll probably be looking to go at least 4 at the back, if not 5 at the back again, because I just think there's so much value there. So the big calls this week. So I'm not gonna touch the defense. I don't think. I think that's what it's going to be. I'm obviously not going to make a goalkeeper transfer in game week 38. Salah is the big issue with his potential injury. He's back in training, but I think kind of 6 days ahead of the Champions League final, it's not certain that he's definitely going to start that Wolves game. And I think even if he does start, there's a chance that he only plays 60-70 minutes, especially if they're winning that game, or even if we hear that City are winning, or Liverpool hear that City are winning their other game. I think they'll start to take players off, and I think if Salah is on the pitch, he'll be one of those that they take off. I do actually think he is going to start the game, just because of them wanting to get some rhythm. The managers talk about rhythm these days ahead of the Champions League final, so I just expect him to come off early. But I also don't necessarily think, given that Salah's not in fantastic form, he's just coming back from an injury, obviously, and I just don't really think the momentum is with him. So I could look to shit, but I think also the rest of my team and the rest of my setup means that I might need a cash cow, and he looks like the most obvious one. I think if we get some team news tomorrow, because the deadline isn't until 2:30, and obviously the games kick off at 4, so we may get some early team news. And I just think with Salah, if we hear he's definitely going to start, I guess I could do nothing. But I just don't like the look of Coutinho in this team with the City fixture. Although, given that he is an ex-Liverpool player, and it's City have got some injuries in their defence, there is the potential that Villa frustrate them, and Coutinho, we know what he can do. I guess it's possible to see him kind of smashing one in from 25 yards. So I could do nothing. I could just leave this team as is and kind of burn the final day transfer, and just captain Son. I do think Son is the best captain this week. Although I think if Norwich do play a back 5 and have a low block, then maybe it is better to have Kane. So just looking at some of my potential options, my bench is a bit of a stinker, and it's kind of been these sorts of players for the last 10 game weeks or so. The likes of Weghorst and Broja are pretty irrelevant now in the game, but they're still sitting there. So just if I go into the transfers page, and again, it'll probably take a little bit of time for this to load up. It hopefully won't be too painful, but there are some things I'm thinking about. So it's game week 38. There's so many different options you can go for in this game. It's a kind of 1 week punt. You haven't got multiple weeks for hits to pay off. And it kind of feels like the players you take out could still it feels like even more so the players you take out could still outscore the ones that you bring in. Obviously, if I take Salah out, he could go banana against Wolves, even if he only gets 60 minutes, because he's going to have the golden boot in his mind, even if Klopp's come out and said that that's not obviously the most important thing for them at the moment, going for the league and the Champions League. So I think one of the things I'm considering, and there's quite a few players that I probably could talk through, but I'm looking at Salah down to a cheaper midfielder, maybe a Maddison or a Barnes or even a Bowen. I think Bowen's probably out of the running just because of the Brighton fixture. I don't love that fixture. Brighton away for West Ham. They've been doing really well, but the way Bowen's performed this season is just insane. That his number of returns is absolutely mad. I mean, 29 returns in a season is what you're looking at from a premium player. And I think if Bowen was kind of an 11 million midfielder, we might be thinking about him differently. But obviously the price point he's coming at this season, how he's performed, I think, especially since, kind of he got that injury and went out of the team. and I thought it's for more than 3 games, but he's actually scored really, really well since he's come back with 3 double-digit hauls. So yeah, he's one that I'm definitely going to be looking at for next season. I just think, again, because we're just looking at one game, he's probably off the radar when other teams have got some better fixtures for this for 38. I think if we're looking at the fixtures here, I like Arsenal's fixture against Everton. I've already got Saka and Nketiah. I'm not thinking of bringing in another Arsenal player really. Brentford Leeds is a good fixture. I think a lot of people are looking at Tony for Brentford. He's come out and kind of said some disparaging things about Leeds, and there's a bit of bad blood there. So obviously he's going to want to do something against them to back that up. Leeds obviously fighting for their lives, but they just don't seem to be able to get it together. And obviously with that Burnley point the other night, Leeds dropping into the relegation zone, it's not looking good for them. So I don't know. Tony is an option up front. I guess that's one way I could go, is to get a cheaper striker, but we'll talk more about that in a minute maybe. Just talked about Brighton versus West Ham, considering Bowen, but I just think it's just Brighton have come back into form, and I think it's a slightly tricky fixture for them. Bowen could return, obviously. I just don't think he can potentially go as big as some of the other players with the fixtures they've got. Burnley against Newcastle. Burnley fighting for their lives, but Newcastle I think are a very different proposition under Eddie Howe than they were under Steve Bruce. They've obviously improved massively. There's people talking about Callum Wilson as a potential alternative to Ivan Toney. So I'm just not sure about Callum Wilson. Again, in one game, yes, he could do it. I'm just not necessarily considering him. I think I probably would go Toney over Wilson, just because of the home game and because of how pathetic the Leeds defence is. Chelsea, Watford, obviously an amazing fixture for Chelsea. Mason Mount is a potential consideration for Chelsea. Watford are gone, and I don't think they've got any fight left in them. So it's an amazing fixture for Chelsea. But I just think all this talk of completely tearing the team apart and changing them for the last day, and playing some players who haven't played much, and the issues that have gone on around Chelsea. Apparently the stadium won't be full because they're still not able to sell tickets. And obviously they haven't got anything to play for. So I'm a bit concerned about that. I think Mount will play just because he was rested in the last game, which was a bit of a surprise, I think, for a lot of people. And he's a bit of a favourite of Tuchel and a local boy, so I think he will play. It's just whether the rest of the team is then kind of strong enough to. They'll definitely beat Watford, but it's just whether the rest of the team's strong enough to put in a kind of 5-6-0 performance. But Mount is a potential option. Palace United, I'm not really looking at this game at all. I think United will actually be stronger than a lot of people are thinking they will be. Apparently, Ten Hag might actually be at the game, if not even involved with kind of the coaching staff ahead of that game. So maybe the players who do care about playing for Man United and do actually have a reason to try will be trying to put on a show for him, and making sure that when he starts in earnest in pre-season that he'll be have a good first impression of them. So I actually think United are going to win this game, but I'm not looking at. I think it's a bit of an unknown quantity, so I'm not looking at bringing any players from that. This Leicester-Southampton fixture, I really like this for Leicester. Obviously, already having Vardy and Schmeichel, I can only bring one in. I like Vardy and Madison and Barnes for this game, and I'm kind of leaning towards Madison because of his monster kind of 25 points in the double game week. Again, kicking myself that I didn't have him, but he also potentially fits in the pricing of one of my plans. Liverpool Wolves, again, it's very difficult to read this because Salah might be out. Difficult to know who's going to start in the front three. Pleased to have Trent and Robertson for this. One option potentially is just to go from Salah to Mane, but I did think one thing that was interesting about Mane was, despite his incredible returns this season, just wait for my computer to load this up. So despite 15 goals, 5 assists, amazing return, he doesn't actually have that many double-digit returns. I think he's only got 3. Obviously, the 19-pointer against Leeds was huge. That's part of a double game week. But in terms of the actual points scored in individual games, he's just been very, very consistent. Maybe that means he's a good pick for the final game of the season. But you think here, we've got 3-2, 3-3, 5-2-2. I mean, these aren't unbelievable scores. I think during the same period, Salah was absolutely destroying it, and yet he's still 15 goals, 5 assists. So he historically does very well on the final day, and a lot of people have done well kind of backing, him as a differential against Salah. And I think if Salah is injured, or if we get any kind of more news about that, I think there will be a lot of people just literally, because they don't want to take the hit, just going Salah to Mane or Salah to De Bruyne. But I don't love the look of Mane in this game, just given how he's been this season. I could kind of have egg on my face about that, but I'm kind of leaning away from him more and more. Diaz is a fantastic player, and I think is going to be a great option for us next season. But again, he's kind of a bit hit and miss in fantasy at the moment. I just worry a little bit about Liverpool focusing on the Champions League final, and if they hear that City are winning comfortably against Villa. And again, I don't think that'll necessarily be the case, but if City do go a couple of goals up against Villa, I do think Liverpool will start taking players off. I was quite surprised by Liverpool's team sheet, even against Southampton in the last game. And obviously they won the game, and Klopp knew that the team he put out was going to win, but it almost looked before the game that he was giving up on the league with that team sheet, but obviously they won anyway. So City, Villa, the one player from City that I'm considering, I guess others would consider as well, is Kevin De Bruyne, and I could just go from Salah to De Bruyne, but I don't love this Villa fixture for City, and I think it is going to be a bit sweaty this game, and so I don't think there are going to be hundreds of goals in it. I think actually if City go a goal up or 2 goals up, they're just going to control the game, and I don't think they're going to go for the jugular, and unless they hear that Liverpool are losing or something like that, in which case they might play with a bit more freedom. But I think it could be actually quite a frustrating game for City against Villa, and I still see City winning it, but maybe just by the odd goal. The last game in this list, the Norwich Spurs game, for somebody who has Son and is captaining Son probably, because again, I think if I don't captain Son, he goes mad. I could potentially slip out of the top 10k. I don't think he's the best asset possibly in that game, but he's been on such incredible form, because I don't expect Norwich to give them a huge amount of space in behind. Although it is at home for Norwich, I think that actually maybe makes it better for them or for Spurs, because it means that Norwich aren't simply going to be able to just sit back. Their fans are going to want to see something. They're going to want them to play with a bit of freedom, given that they're already down. So maybe that is actually great for Son. But yeah, I've run to my plans actually. There's a lot of people thinking of potentially getting in Sessegnon for Spurs, given that he is so cheap, and I guess there is one way to, if we hear that Salah's definitely fit and is going to play, he is an amazing option still, and Wolves are don't have anything to play for and have been in terrible form. So maybe there's other ways to get cash out of this team and into midfield or into attack. But just to remind you, so at the moment I am playing Coutinho, and I do have Coutinho in the team, which I don't think is the strongest option. So the idea of just making a Salah to somebody transfer means that I've still got that weakness of Coutinho in the team. So I am definitely thinking of taking a -4. I don't love the idea of taking a hit on the final day, but I've taken some pretty successful hits this season. So if I think there's somebody who's a better option, I actually don't think that 4 points is a massive thing to make up. But obviously the player you take out, if I take Coutinho out and then he smashes or I bench Coutinho and he smashes in a 25-yard drive and gets bonus, then that's going to be pretty frustrating and pretty difficult for the player I bring in to match up with him. So if we just experiment with a couple of things here, just a couple of things that I'm thinking of. So Salah down to, if we go to, let's just go to midfielders, because I'm hoping they're going to be in the top of this list. You see how incredibly slow this is. So at the moment I'm thinking of Maddison in for Salah, and then that allows me to do Weghorst to Kane. Here we go. So yeah, I can just about afford that 0.2. I'll need to check the prices. Actually, they're going to change fairly quickly, but I don't think I'll be priced out of that if I don't do it tonight. And I really want to give myself the best option of getting some team news, some late news on this. So, yeah, I think I'm leaning towards this. This is the one I prefer. It's a -4, but it allows me to bench Coutinho because Kane is coming in for Weghorst, and so Kane comes into the team. And I just think Maddison has been in such brilliant form this season, despite Leicester not performing that well. But, you look at these kind of double-digit returns, 16-10, 16-10, and then, his form again recently has come really good with that massive score. And he seems to be back to full fitness and playing 90 minutes. So I don't see any reason why he doesn't start this game. I don't see any reason necessarily why he doesn't play 90 minutes. Then, this is their last game of the season. They're going to want to end it on a high because it has been a rather disappointing season for them. But yeah, I really like Maddison for this game. Barnes is another option as well, but I just think I'm leaning towards Maddison given his form, and Barnes has been even patchier than him. So Kane, I do love him for that Norwich game, I think, and he always does well on the last day of the season. He's not going to be happy about the fact that Son has more goals than him. He's going to want to catch that up as much as he can. And I think now that City have got Haaland, I think it's pretty clear that Son's going to stay at Spurs, and he may even stay at Spurs now for the rest of his career. So I think, with that kind of monkey off his back and not thinking about that, then, he's going to be giving his all for Spurs. There is the issue that he's had apparently a mild stomach bug. There's kind of shades of the Arsenal Spurs top 4 fight from the past with the kind of food poisoning or the lasagna gate or whatever it was. But I think Conte said he's going to play, and I don't expect him to not start that game. I guess there is the chance that he's feeling really rough and he's not going to be on form. But again, with a bit of adrenaline and kind of enjoying the last day of the season, who knows what he could do against that Norwich defence. Obviously, if they are playing a low block and they have got 5 at the back, I think Kane probably is the better option. But I think just the fact that it's Norwich anyway, they're not going to be as well organised as some other defences, and so I just think whatever they try and do, I still expect Spurs to win the game comfortably. So that's one option. The other option is to go for Tony up front. See how long this takes. Here we go. So the cheaper forwards, this could be Tony, it could be Callum Wilson, although I think Callum Wilson is a bit more expensive than Tony. But then it means that in midfield, then I can then have, I've got 12.8 to spend, so I can pretty much have, I think I can have any other midfielder in the game. So it could be De Bruyne, it could be Mane, and I think that would be kind of the way around that I might do it. If I go for the cheaper forward, it's then probably a choice between De Bruyne and Mane, I think, because if not, then I'm into the Kane plus a Maddison. I think Mount is out of reach just if I want Kane, although I could do Vardy. I think I may have said earlier that I've got Vardy. Obviously, I had Vardy on the free hit, but that's the other alternative. And I do really like that Southampton at home fixture for Vardy. There's some people saying they think Vardy might not start, but that's the other potential way of doing it. Is if I have Vardy up front, I can have obviously anywhere up to a 9.3 in midfield. So it could be Mount, it could be Maddison, and then I quite like this as an option as well. But I think not having Kane, because that's the other thing you need to think about. Yes, I'd love to have Vardy against Southampton, but you can't have everyone. And I think going into the final day and not having Kane when he's playing Norwich would be pretty terrifying. So yeah, I think this is slightly more differential. And again, Leicester and Vardy and Maddison, Barnes, they've all been in really good form in the last few games, and it's Southampton at home. So I think they're going to want to put on a show. But everyone loves the final day. The weather's usually nice, stadiums are full, and so I think that Leicester against Southampton game is good. You want players playing at home. In fact, looking at this, I'd have, for example, if I did these transfers or kind of any combination of them, really, I guess, other than Kane, I've got pretty much every player playing at home other than Son. So I like that on the final day of the season. I'm not going to make my transfers until probably the early afternoon, just because I don't want to risk I don't want to risk there being some pretty legitimate final news. Obviously, it's difficult to know what's going to be legitimate or not, but I might try and listen into Andy's deadline stream, because he seems to have quite a few people. It's interesting. I don't know where he's getting them from, but he seems to have a few people who are relatively reliable in relation to team news. But there's kind of 2 or 3 options I can go for, and yeah, I'm really looking to wait and see what news we get, if any. But I think this is probably the one that I'm leaning towards, just because I think Kane is, because of that fixture, he is a better option than Vardy this week. Although I do quite like the look of the kind of Mount and Vardy options, because I think it's slightly more differential, and yeah, I think they both have good fixtures, and they both have the ability to go off. So those are the options. So I'll leave it there. I mean, it wasn't a long pod, but yeah, obviously it's difficult to do this without somebody to kind of play off and to ask questions and to let you have a sip of water from time to time. But I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who's watched any of our content, any of our streams. As I say, we are looking at ways to improve it. We're still very new to this, and looking forward to starting a new season and putting content out for that. That's hopefully helpful in terms of people picking their teams. I think before that we'll have a few season review, maybe a few season review pods, a couple of those, just to look at ways in which we may have been able to take things in a different direction, things where things went wrong, kind of looking at some good luck and bad luck that we had, etc. Hopefully that'll be fun, and just kind of lessons learned and what we can kind of take into next season. But thank you again for all your support. Please do join our league. The league code is on the screen now. I actually think I have lost the lead in that to our friend Paddy Parr. And Paddy, yeah, if you're listening, if you do win, please do DM us on Twitter or get in touch, and we can talk about your how to get you your prize of a curly whirly. Shlee was asking me why on the Wednesday pod why the curly whirly. I don't really have a particular affiliation for curly whirlies. I don't actually like them that much, but I guess it's just a fairly amusing prize in our league. Maybe we'll have some more serious prizes for our league next season, if you're still allowed to do that. I haven't caught up with what the rules are on that currently, but yeah, thanks so much for listening. If you did, I hope some of this was useful and it gave you some names to look at. I'm just having a look down a list that I made before this to see if I covered everybody. I think the only person who's on my list that I didn't really talk about is Lukaku, but I think he will play in that Watford game, and obviously it's an amazing fixture, but there is always the risk that they play Havertz, because obviously he hasn't been playing the last few games. He's had a good season, and they might want to finish with him, especially because Tuchel hasn't always seen eye to eye with Lukaku and been a bit scathing about him. So it's just very difficult in that Chelsea game. It is probably the best fixture of the game week, but it's very difficult to pick the team that's going to start. I'm a little bit concerned about Alonso and James in that game. I'm glad to have them both, but I think there's a chance that one, if not both of them, don't actually play, which would be pretty devastating for that Power 5 defense. So yeah, I don't think I've missed anyone else out that I would be considering, and that I think that you should consider as Planet FPL. Say, play your own game and go with your gut, because I think if you take someone's advice, or if you don't do the moves that you really think you should be making before the deadline, I think that's probably the way to get the most frustrated with it if things don't go well, because as we know, in just one game, that anything can happen. So again, I would do your best to try and wait if you can, if you're not up to too much tomorrow, to wait till as close to the deadline as you can. But again, probably don't wait until 2 minutes before, because you might not actually be able to lock your team in. So have everything set up in case you can't make those transfers, so that everything is kind of in the right order anyway. But yeah, wait as long as you can. That's what I'll be doing. So good luck. Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the final game week. And yeah, I hope you finish on a big green arrow. And thanks again for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And we will be back again with some game week, some season review pods, and looking forward to creating content when the game relaunches as well. So All the best. Good luck. Have a good Sunday. Bye-bye.